Hey guys, Brandon here, coming at you with another MLB the Show video, and today I wanted to go over the team affinities again and talk about the ones that are still worth it at this point in the game. So I've narrowed it down to like a top 5 that were worth it. I have a worth it list, a maybe list, and then a not so much list. It won't work out for most teams. So hopefully this will help you if you want to go after team affinities or you want to get team affinity players who will go towards the Honus Wagner thing, but will also benefit your team. Hopefully, you can take these into consideration when trying to figure out if you should go for something. And maybe this will just reestablish a thought in your head like, oh, maybe I should go back and check how close I am to these since I've played so many Battle Royales. So I have a bunch of different team used, and I haven't even checked in a while how many innings I have or how close I am to the next player. So first, for the not worth it's, we have the Red Sox. Red Sox have John Lester here, 85 overall diamond. All the teams have diamonds. John Lester being an 85 overall diamond. There's basically free diamonds that you can get for a lot less work than that John Lester, so I would not worry about that. Then we have the Yankees. Got David Robertson in the bullpen. I did the March to October, my first one with the Yankees, so I was pretty much done with this David Robertson, and that's why I have him. He is not the most controlled pitcher. He's only a 3-pitch Willie, so that really takes away from him. Plus, there's some good right-handed people you can get in the bullpen anyway. Obviously, those aren't really free, but I still wouldn't recommend having David Robertson. Next, we're going to head over to the White Sox. White Sox got Luis Aparicio. Just a terrible hitter, contact and power-wise. His vision's good. He's got good speed, but you can't use him for a whole lot else. He'll be a diamond defender for you, but there's some diamond defending shortstops that'll actually help your team. So I would not recommend the White Sox. It's not going to work out for most teams. Then we've got the Angels. Angels are going to have this Garrett Richards. Another 85 overall starting pitcher. Not too much to be excited for here when you could get 85s and higher for free in this game. So I wouldn't recommend grinding out any of these unless you're already pretty close and it's like, why not just get the card? Then we have this Josh Donaldson. Donaldson, pretty good fielder on this card, just not the great hitter we used to see. There's some good third basemen in this game that most teams won't need this Donaldson for, and it's not worth the grind for them. After the A's, we got the Stros. We have Dallas Keuchel. Just mediocre across the board here. I don't prefer left-handed pitchers personally. And like I said with all the other starting pitchers, there's a lot of starting pitchers in here. And if you had to pick 5 out of here, he still wouldn't even be in the top 5, let alone the free cards that you can get from like Moments and whatnot. So we'll just leave him there. And I would not recommend getting him. We have to skip a whole section, and we go to the Cubs. Cubs have Kyle Schwarber, who's a great power hitter. But there's people in the free XP path that look exactly like this card, minus the fact that he can play catcher, but he'll play it at a common defense anyway. So if you need somebody who's a power hitter, I would not really go with Kyle Schwarber unless you're really close to finishing him anyway. Then we have the Cardinals. Cardinals have Bob Gibson. Bob Gibson, another 85 starting pitcher. Pretty low BBs per 9, so he's going to be a little bit inaccurate. And when you got this inaccuracy, you might as well just go with somebody else, especially for a starting pitcher. Then we've got the Diamondbacks. We have Justin Upton. He looks like almost every other outfielder in the game. Probably not even a top 3 outfielder in the team affinities. So I wouldn't recommend going for him, even though he's got some decent power versus left. There's a lot of good outfielders in the game, and he's probably not the one for you. And last, we got the Padres. They're going to have Chase Headley. Chase Headley is a switch hitter, but playing third base. He's got good fielding. He's got pretty baseline stats. Wouldn't necessarily recommend him to anybody. being that there's still another good third baseman on this list that I would take over him anyway. So we're going to head over to the maybes. And this kind of just depends on where your team's situated, so this will have the most teams in it. And we're going to start with the Rays. So the Rays are going to have Ben Zobrist. He's going to be a good second baseman for you with pretty borderline hitting stats. He's going to be gold fielding, switch hitting bat. I've heard people like him when they play with him, so I feel like there being a lack of second basemen, this guy could be the second baseman for you if you're still in need of one or you're just starting, even though this is probably the midpoint of the game's life, if not almost the back end, because everybody's going to start playing some of the new games coming out. After the Rays, we have the Indians. With the Indians, we have Michael Brantley. He doesn't seem like too much of a great hitter. He's got some decent stats. He could pull like some Ichiro hits off, I feel like. Pretty good vision. It all really depends on where your team's at and their, I guess, build. If you have already good outfielders, obviously you're not going to want to do this one. If your outfielder is not that great and you've got some Indians players that you've been playing with and you're pretty close, you're like, yeah, I'll do it and I'll probably use them. So then we got the Tigers. We have the Tigers' Hal Newhouser. He's a 91 overall card, so you can't really go wrong with him. Good speed differential for the most part. Got about 20 miles an hour, not quite yet. And he's got pretty good stats across the board. A little bit wild, but for a 91 overall, being free, he might be worth it for your team. So after the Tigers, we have the Royals. The Royals have Brett Saberhagen, another starting pitcher. A little bit better on the accuracy side, so probably you would want him higher than the Tigers pitcher, who was a Hal Newhouser. And with the speed differential, he's going to be about 20 as well. And you really can't complain about that. 90 overall card, he'll be pretty good for you on the mound. Then we've got the Twins, who I have completed because I have used a lot of Twins players. We've got Brian Dozier at second base. Second base is one of the weaker positions, and Dozier's got a little bit of power if you need it. He's a pretty decent fielder, just in the silver range, almost to gold. Just a little bit low on vision, but he's a pretty good hitter. I've used him, and he did the deed for when I needed him, so maybe somebody still needs him. Maybe you don't. That's why he's in the maybe category. Then we've got the Mariners. Mariners are going to have Jay Buhner. Jay Buhner is going to be a decent hitter, a little bit low vision, kind of low speed for an outfielder, but pretty good fielding at gold with a good arm strength. So it depends on where you're at with your team. If you're going to need a Jay Buhner card, maybe you need him as a bench bat, but he's got decently low vision, so you might be able to get somebody in the XP path that's a little bit better. Next, we've got our Rangers. The Rangers are going to have Yu Darvish. Darvish is going to depend on where you're at in your cycle. Unfortunately, everything looks good besides the fact that his walks and home runs per 9 are low. So if you are in need of a starting pitcher who's got a good speed differential, a lot of pitches, and he's got good break on his pitches, Yu Darvish might be the guy for you, but he might be too inaccurate for many people. So he might be good for your team, might not be. Then we've got the Braves. Braves are going to have Fred McGriff. Fred McGriff, left-handed first baseman. Really depends who you've got at first base. His fielding's not that great. His hitting versus right-handed pitchers is pretty good. So if you do need a first baseman, you might be able to pick up Fred McGriff. Plus, he's used for the postseason collection. So with that being low on players, he might be a good one to pick. Then we've got our Marlins. Marlins are going to have probably the best third baseman in here as far as I can think of. Miguel Cabrera. He's got pretty good hitting with mediocre power here. Pretty good fielding for the most part. You could use him over that Donaldson card, I think, so he's probably the best third baseman here. Not too many third basemen, though, so it wasn't much hard competition, but not bad for anything in specific. So next we're going to head over to the Phillies. And the next in the maybe category, Richie Ashburn. I'm not really entirely sure. I'd have to use this card first, but he seems like he might be sort of a glitch like Ichiro. He's probably got even less power than Ichiro, so if he can plant one right in front of the outfielders, then he's going to be a pretty good card to pick up with decent fielding, decent speed. I'm just not sure how useful he'd be with that low of power. Maybe he can get him out of the infield, maybe he can't at all. I'm sure he can get some out, and hopefully they're all blue pits. So let me know if you have Richie Ashburn or you used him, and if he's actually worth it for you. Here we go. He was just on the Phillies, so we're going to head to the Reds. Reds, as a bonus, you get this Aroldis Chapman, and you have the Johnny Cueto. Johnny Cueto, 88 overall, starting pitcher. It's probably the fourth person I've put in the maybe category as a starting pitcher. So if you need a starting pitcher, and Cueto might be your guy. Not the greatest speed differential of about 10 miles an hour. A lot of pitches, most of them pretty fast though. So you won't see too many batters getting fooled unless you're in a pretty low division or you're just playing against the computer. Then we've got the Rockies. Rockies are going to have the better hitting of the two with Jay Buhner and Dante Bichette. Bichette's got better hitting than Buhner, so if you need somebody who's good against lefties, he might be your guy. Maybe you already have a pretty stacked lineup and maybe not need him, so that's why he'll be in the maybe category, but he's a pretty good option. Then we've got our Dodgers. Don Sutton, 90 overall. He's got pretty good stats. The only issue is his velocity. He's barely hitting 90, but about a 20 differential from his screwball to his fastball. So maybe Don Sutton looks like he could be a part of your team with two different types of curveballs, slider, sinker, fastball. The sinker's his fifth pitch, but it's always still effective. Then we have lastly in the maybe list, we have the Giants. Giants have Juan Marichal. He's a 92 overall starting pitcher. Probably the fifth one I've talked about or so that was in the maybe list, so that could be your starting rotation if you needed all of them. We've got a slider, fastball, screwball, curveball, changeup, and about a 20-mile-an-hour difference and just over that. His stats are pretty good, so I think you could get away with using them if you really needed somebody. And now finally we have the worth it list. These guys will be worth it on most of the teams and might be worth it if you're pretty close to completing them. We have the Orioles. We have Zach Britton. Zach Britton being a left-handed bullpen guy. Only issue is he has like 3 fastballs and not really an off-speed. His only off-speed's a slider. But if you need a left-handed player for your bullpen and you only have like Billy Wagner or like a live series pitcher, you might need to get Zach Britton on your team just because of the sheer lack of lefties in your bullpen. Next, we're going to head over to the Nationals. Nationals have Trey Turner. Trey Turner's super fast, and he's a decent hitter at best. He can also play a whole lot of positions, but if you don't want to use him at shortstop, or at the card says shortstop, that threw me off. In center field, you can use him anywhere, or just as a pinch runner for your team. He can be used a lot of places, and he's pretty much just a kind of a glitch card that'll bloop him, and if you do get him in the gap, he can run forever, so that's what's good about him. Then we've got our boy from the Mets. With the Mets, we have Jose Reyes. Pretty good card with high speed, so he'll be a pinch runner, if nothing less than the Trey Turner card. Just better fielding than that Trey Turner. Different positions, though. And pretty good hitter for the most part. Switch hitter. Can't really go wrong with the Jose Reyes card. Next, we have the Brewers. Brewers are going to have that Raleigh Fingers. Everybody swears up and down by this card. He's got a sinker, slider, forkball, so he's got good pitches. Only like a 13-mile-an-hour difference, though, but his stats are pretty good. And if you need a righty in your bullpen, Raleigh Fingers will probably be your guy. And last from the NL Central, we have another left-handed bullpen, Felipe Vasquez. He throws really hard, got really good break, even at an 85 overall. If you need a lefty in your bullpen, this is probably who I'd go with over Britton, even though Britton's, I'm not sure if he's 2 higher or 1 higher. I think 2. But he seems to be the better option than Britton because he does have a curveball and changeup as an off-speed instead of just all fastballs for the most part. So the worth it people to me were Orioles, Nationals, Mets, Brewers, Pirates. So if you guys enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. If you guys have anybody you think should have been switched around, let me know. If you guys have tried that Richie Ashburn, also let me know. And I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.